story of a 9-year-old girl who was gunned down, the man who was convicted of murder and the drug crimes that caused it. Liverpool gangsters are responsible for the death not just of Olivia but many more over the years. It did calm down for a little bit, but it seems to be back with a vengeance, and innocent people are paying the price. It's devastating when anyone's murdered, but it's that much more tragic when an innocent child is the one who pays that price. This video is going to explain what's happening in Liverpool today. Obviously, as with all cities, Liverpool is a place of a lot of crime. I'll be talking about the events over the last 12 months, and then I'm going to go back to the 1970s and discuss how drug crimes and gangsters grew in the shadows to wreak havoc on the good people of this city. Thomas Cashman, 34, on the 30th of March 2023, following an 18-day trial in Manchester, was found guilty of the murder of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt Korbel. He was also found guilty of wounding Olivia's mum, Cheryl, and the attempted murder of Joseph Nee. He was sentenced on Monday the 3rd of April, and he got 42 years. He and his family claim he is innocent. There was a female key witness who was brave and done the right thing. She's been given lifetime immunity for testifying. These people are so dangerous and cancerous to this city. She was sleeping with Cashman, and she told the court how after the shooting he turned up at hers, said he'd done joeying and got a change of clothes. After realising that Thomas had killed the child, he could have handed himself in, but he chose to be a coward and lay low. There's still an investigation ongoing regarding the people who supposedly helped hide him and this disgusting crime. He has openly admitted to being a drug dealer, earning up to £250,000 selling cannabis. The forensics in the case failed to find gunshot residue around the area where he is supposed to have taken off his clothes. Throughout the trial, Thomas said there was no marks on his body 2 days after the shooting, even though he was supposedly he jumped over the fence, and he claimed if he had done that he would have had marks on his body. He also says he was not seen on CCTV entering this witness's house that night. He claims he's been set up and that Nee was a mate. Multiple witnesses described the shooter as someone shorter and thinner. Also, the prosecution failed to prove motive. Cashman's case and conviction was very quick. There is a possibility he might appeal. I don't think he will, maybe he will. But he maintains he didn't kill Olivia. Olivia's case was reminiscent of the 2007 murder of 11-year-old Reece Jones. Another innocent child murdered after being caught in the crossfire of drug wars and gun crimes. So, the night of the murder, Joseph Nee had been out with a friend watching a Liverpool football game when a masked gunman is waiting for them. The gunman then sees Nee walking up the street with his mate and shoots twice. Nee falls and the gunman shoots again, but he manages to escape and started running. Now, Olivia's mum Cheryl heard commotion outside and she went to the front door and opened it. Olivia had come down the stairs scared and she was stood behind Cheryl. Joseph Nee sees that the door is open and runs in, followed by a shooter. The gunman takes out a second gun and shoots through the door. Cheryl was shot in the hand as she was trying to shut the door. Olivia was shot in the chest and died as a result. Liverpool was devastated by the news. People were outraged and sickened by the crime, and we still are. Her family destroyed by his senseless action. He was arrested 2 weeks later. The shooting was linked to organised crime, but the guns haven't been found. But the ballistics said that the bullets showed that the gun had been involved in the shooting of a man in 2020, and that the same gun had been shot in the park 16 days before Olivia was murdered, and is linked to high-end organised crime. But the evidence, which is largely CCTV, shows a man. It's not a clear picture of Thomas, so I can see where this defence might come from. Thomas testified that many people wanted me dead. He'd been shot at twice before. Thomas says he has an alibi for the time of Olivia's death. He says he was counting £10,000 worth of money with a friend, and this friend didn't testify. He says he was seen a lot in the area that day because he was dealing cannabis. But Cashman was part of a high-level organisation. He was a hitman for hire, gunman for the Liverpool bosses to solve disputes. 4 different sources told the Panorama documentary that this was his MO, this is what he did. He'd also been arrested in 2013 for an unsolved murder, but he was never charged. Carl Bradley, a few hundred yards from Olivia's house. He was the brother of a gangster, Kate Bradley, who was serving 22 years. Apparently, Cashman thought Neve was out to get him for Carl's murder, so he shot him first. The day before, 2 miles away in Old Swan, 28-year-old Ashley Dale was found shot in her garden. Now, her case is weird because a few years before, her brother had been murdered as well. The officers said of Ashley that she was not the intended victim. She was just another innocent life lost to gun crime. 2 months later, her grandmother, Jackie Rudder, was shot on her doorstep. And then Christmas Eve 2020, at the Lighthouse pub, a shooter pulled out a machine gun which killed Ellie Edwards. A Scorpion machine gun was used, and this can fire 850 rounds a minute. In 4 months, 3 women and a little girl were murdered in Liverpool. To live in Liverpool is intimidating. It's like living in the snake pit. And people are too scared to speak out or talk to the police. The wall of silence goes up. Otherwise, you can expect a petrol bomb when you're asleep. Thankfully, some people do find the courage to speak out, but not enough. After all these murders, the Home Office gave Merseyside Police £350,000 extra to help fight organised crime. So I just want to talk a little bit about the history of the drug crime in this city. Liverpool is and has been at the heart of the country's drug trade for many decades. The drug lords are responsible for murders, fear and chaos in the city. Since the 1970s, criminals have turned Liverpool into the UK's drug trafficking capital. Back then, we had a thriving music scene. Activists, students, artists, they all wanted to try new things and interesting drugs. Liverpool was still a major port at that time, and we imported a lot of these drugs straight onto the streets of Liverpool. The drug trade was not organised until serious criminals moved in to become drug lords. One such man was a sailor, Tommy Comerford. He had a lot of connections on the docks, all the docks, which was an important factor. He was fearless. He'd robbed a bank and found himself in prison, where he found out he could make much more money from importing and dealing drugs on an industrial scale. LSD, speed, cannabis, cocaine, he had it all. This made him the first, and he had control of all the docks, and he could do anything. A customs team was sent to follow him and his associates. Tony had no idea about this clandestine operation. He was caught in 1979 and he was jailed. At this time, customs had found 50 gangs in Merseyside. It had grown so much and couldn't be stopped. The families who owned the pubs and clubs got into drugs. Robberies and protection rackets became daily business for them. They had total control over the city. And this was the origin of the Liverpool Mafia. What's interesting about Tommy Comerford as well, even though he was making so much money and he was dead powerful, he kept hold of his council flat. He was from the Vauxhall area of Liverpool, and he kept hold of his council flat that was paid for by the council, and he also claimed like social security as well, even though he was like going on £5,000 trips and stuff. He was minted. It's mad. So let's talk about some drugs. Talk about heroin. In the 1980s, Liverpool was flooded with cheap heroin and the city was destroyed. So many people were fucked off it. I was born in 87, and a huge portion of the people I grew up with and went to school with are either dead, fucked on drugs, or in prison for drug-related crimes. Even now, everyone in my area is on one drug or another. Whole families destroyed. Our community is forever broken. Drug-fueled crime is out of control. Smack City, sex workers, thefts. Organised criminals tend to use heroin because it's cheap and addictive. Always got the customers until they overdose. This steady income for dealers allows them to expand and grow the business, and destruction. Greed gets in the way of models. In the 1990s, a new drug swept the city. That was cocaine, which brought the guns to the streets. Cocaine was a good choice because it's addictive. Again, Liverpool is perfectly placed to traffic these drugs through. Let's talk about Curtis Warren, who's now out. Hopefully he keeps his nose clean. This might be a name people know. He was recently, he just done a really long sentence. He trafficked huge amounts of cocaine. He teamed up with the Cali cartel. He did the biggest drugs bust that, well, the biggest drug deal that this country has ever seen. With the help of military police and Stephen May, Warren became a notorious drug trafficker of the UK. There was a plan to smuggle 1/2 ton of cocaine to the UK. British Customs was watching Warren, along with the police in the Netherlands. He was described as clever and ruthless and greedy, and he was caught in the act. Dutch police found weapons, ammunition, 400 kilograms of cocaine and 60 kilograms of heroin. Stephen May only got caught with the cocaine, but it was Britain's biggest drug importation. Warren got 12 years. May served 16 for drugs and because he had escaped prison. Stephen May's recently been interviewed for the Panorama documentary, and he seems remorseful of the harm that he's caused to people. Customs found that half of their investigations and seizures had Merseyside links, which is quite incredible. As the criminals' gangs grew, so did the profits. This led to an increase in violence. In 1995, there was 45 shootings due to gang wars. The drug trade brought guns and death. The competition for customers and turf wars led to violence and murder. Stephen May admits that he and his associates have blood on their hands. He says it's all meaningless and it's not worth it in the long run. The early 2000s was insane, the amount of shootings and death in the city. I remember I was about like 16 or 17 at the time, and these kind of lads in these gangs were, you know, exciting. I'm ashamed to say, but that's another story. Dad and Jane as brothers. Let's talk about them. They were drug runners, they had guns, they were organised and they were violent. The G's gang sold drugs, every drug. He admits that they terrorised the area, and I remember these days, they really did. I knew one of the lads who was shot in the car. Ugh. Bloody heartbreaking. A lot of the old timers were arrested all at once, which seen young kids take their place, but they didn't have the same values. They didn't have the same control. It was a very dark time for the city. I knew about 9 of the lads who got arrested at the same time. There was a little bit of peace for a while, but in 2007, little Rhys Jones was caught in the crossfire, like I've said. In 2004, Danny G took on a member of the Liverpool Mafia. I was 17 and I remember it well. Craig Barker, 19-year-old kid, he weren't involved in nothing. He just took a ride in Danny G's car. Unfortunately, there was a revenge attack on Darren, but they got the wrong person. Unfortunately, Craig died. When Craig died, Darren was told that the person that had done it was a man called David Vegan. Now, Darren knew David Vegan. He used to go to his for like Sunday lunch and all that, but that didn't matter. Darren got 12 years anyway. 7 have been shot dead. 7 of his gang, I mean, and 9 of his other associates are doing life. In 2020, the police done a mass arrest of gang bosses who'd been using encrypted phones. This was mad in the media. The National Crime Agency went on to them. Now, this encrypted phones, loads of like criminals and that, and drug dealers were using these encrypted chats to, like, you know, do business, thinking that it was completely encrypted. But the French had cracked the code and shared it with the British police. The quality of the conversations on the phones highlighted that Liverpool's drug trade had become even bigger than what it was thought. 220 people were arrested for heroin, speed, cocaine, etc. 2 bosses, John and Alan Tobin, they were drug traffickers. EncroChat exposed their empire. They were dealing cocaine. Again, you know, doing exactly what they're doing in the 2020s, what they were doing in the 1970s. Organised crime's very resilient. No doubt the misery, murder and mayhem will continue. The guns and drugs will continue to destroy the families in the city. Can this city ever have peace? How many more kids need to be murdered before it stops? How many more Rhys Jones and Olivia Pratt Korbels do we need to see murdered before we say enough is enough? Now, I don't believe that Merseyside police are capable of dealing with how bad things are here. I don't think they have a clue what they're doing. But you know, going back to Olivia, she was 9. She was a baby. And I'm going to show a picture of her mum with a teddy bear. The teddy bear is a memory bear, and it's made out of Olivia's pyjamas. This mother and dad and family, that's all they've got of her. I want to add as well, it was reported this morning that a hit is being put on Thomas Cashman. I think it's £250,000 to kill him. I think criminals here are starting to get nervous because obviously Thomas knows a lot of stuff that he probably could use to his advantage. So even though he's been sentenced to 42 years, I personally think he will be dead soon. But we will see. If that does happen, I'll report on it. If he does appeal his sentence, I'll let you know. But like, as a city, it's scary. I mean, like I've said, I live here, and 2 weeks ago, right near me, there was 2 lads on them electric scooters just going up Stanley Road shooting guns. I mean, that is unbelievable. How these kids are getting hold of these guns, it's just mad. Anyway, I know there's a lot of information in this, and my voice is going a bit, but stay safe and look after yourselves, and enjoy this Holy Week if you're Catholic, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.